in a firm hold. And the look on his face.
Bloody hell, woman! What's your problem?
Kidnapper. To say he's pissed would be a complete understatement, you think? Had I been the weak-willed sort, I'd probably cower under his sharp gaze. And that simply isn't how I roll. If he thinks he can scare me and do as he pleases here, just because I'm a woman or whatever his reasons may be, he's got another thing coming for him. So instead, I return it to him with the same intensity, with the same venom.
What's my problem? You're the one who has a problem here. Rotten bowbags like you don't deserve the freedom to run this town. What are you doing to this girl?
Oh shit, she's angry.
And why is that any of your business, pray tell?
Because I'm a teacher.
Oh, it's my business if I make it to be.
Because I'm a teacher.
Now, release me or I'll call the police.
Oh shucks, not the police.
You think that scares me, Daisy?
I have a name, you sleazy douchebag.
Again, that's not a UK vernacular.
Oh, I'm sure.
His grip on my hand only tightens when I attempt to shake it off. His tone may be dripping with anger and sarcasm, but the gleam in his eyes says it all. He's getting a kick out of this. Riling people up, getting on their nerves, invading their personal space. He knows exactly what and which buttons to push. The nerve of this person. The nerve of this arsehole. He thinks I'm going to give in to his goading pleas. He may as well just kiss his sorry behind. In fact, why not do the more sensible thing right now? Teach him a tough lesson. Hit him with a book.
Mister, you have until the count of 5 to let me go and step out of my personal space.
Oh, let me guess. Did the my relationship with Luke went down. Oh, how cute. I really don't give a fuck. He's a dick. A fair warning. Fairer than I can offer for people of his kind, and I'm already being considerate. Hell, this arsehole doesn't even deserve a warning. If he doesn't listen, well, he's as much responsible for what happens next as anyone.
Or else what? Such vulgar words coming out of that pretty mouth. A gorgeous flower like you shouldn't even be saying.
He's gonna knee him in the knackers.
Don't say I didn't warn you, bowbag.
Love that intensity, Daisy. FYI, I like feisty in a woman. It gives them this certain charm. Why don't you?
5.
A second of silence, then without any preamble, my leg moves in one fluid motion to deliver a swift, powerful, well-placed kick to his nether regions. That was satisfying. Needless to say, the effect is instantaneous. He yelps, abruptly drops his hold on me, and kneels over, howling from the pain. I can see tears forming at the corner of his eyes too, though the mere sight of it prompts not an ounce of remorse from me. I would have been gentler if he hadn't been such a dirty little prick with an ego too big for his head. Too bad. Whether this obliterates any chance of him ever procreating remains to be known, but a part of me is already praying he doesn't ever breed after this. We have no need for more of him in this world.
You mad woman!
I warned you, you ass.
Why this is harassment, I'm telling you! Harassment!
You mean harassment? Harassment! Oh, the posh.
Then why don't you tell that to the police once they get here,
Yeah, bitch.
You despicable! Whatever you're assuming I am, I'll have you know it's all in your head. None of it's true. You best have that pretty brain of yours checked before that gets worse.
I don't know, that name does kind of suit you.
What is wrong with you? Is this the face of someone who'd do anything suspicious?
Yes.
Oh? You don't think a stranger luring an innocent child with promises of sweets before whisking them away from their parents doesn't warrant any suspicion?
Who does have a good reason, though?
You have a very definition of suspicious, asshole. Maybe you're the one who should have that head of yours checked.
Name's fighting words.
The kid asked me to buy her sweets. You're the one who's suspicious here. I'll have you know, I have a wife.
Yes, because there's never been a sleazy criminal person in the world who didn't have a wife. Just let that line sink in. I'll have you know, I have a wife. Okay, that much at least appears to have the sliver of truth to it, and even makes a show of brandishing his left hand to my face with much flourish. Sure enough, a wedding ring is sat there, though all that earned him is an unimpressed glare from me. Immediately, a small part of me feels sorry for whatever poor woman married this sod. I don't understand why he has to bring her up either, as I mentioned of her alone. As if the mention of her alone will magically present a solution to his problems. She must truly be a remarkable woman if she can handle a dirtbag like him.
Even my wife of all people in this bloody city, has never, I'm telling you, accused me of such a scandalous thing! You crazy woman!
Crazy woman!
Married or not, you're still a sleaze. Honestly, I feel...
Miss Pink, why are you fighting with my Teal?
It's her uncle. Whatever words still left to be said here dies on my tongue. The same thing goes for the sleaze. Beside us stands Kylie, gawking at us with the same curious stare she often brings with her. I know that look all too well. A precocious child through and through. I don't know why that word took so long to identify, but, you know. She doesn't say anything further, her gaze simply moves between us, eyeing us both carefully, clearly anticipating an answer. From my experience, when it gets like this with a child her age, it's a sure sign they won't leave you until you've given them an answer they're satisfied with. Lying won't do either. It has dissolved into a shouting match for heaven's sake. And did she just say Tio? Something falls straight to the pit of my stomach after that. My tone is gentle when I finally address her, void of any apprehension of and what might be the first hints of embarrassment. I pointedly ignore the latter. It can very well be just the hunger speaking.
Kylie, sweetie, do you know this oath?
I think she does.
Yeah, he's Teal Luke.
Fuck me. Right at that moment, my brain stops. Every line of thought, every argument I still have against the man beside me dissipates in a haze. Amidst all of it, one memory gets triggered from a few days ago.
Tio? The one you mentioned before? The uncle? The guy Rowan wanted to impress? Or was that a dare?
That's why
I'm
one of the
sorry,
students...
I can't recall.
That's why one of the students had a name, Rowan.
Is it the one who promised he'll take Big Brother someplace cool?
Yeah, the one and the same. Don't you know who he is?
Nope. I sure as hell don't, darling. Because if I do, I wouldn't have let everything I've said earlier come out of my mouth.
Teal Luke, gazillionaire extraordinaire, am I? No, the fairy godfather.
Oh, he's your godfather. That's nice.
Yeah.
The one and only. Did I get that right, Teal?
More than right, sweetheart.
Let's see what his smug response is gonna be.
I'm sure Miss Pink here understood everything you said quite perfectly.
Miss Pink. Whatever it is that landed at the bottom of my stomach prior has shot straight to my face and stayed there. The heat from it slowly spread into my cheeks, colouring my face in an almost the same shade as my hair. Only the earth I would swallow. If only the earth would swallow me whole here and now. His eyes are on me. I can feel them jeering, mocking. I can't even bring myself to look at him. What's in there? Amusement? I doubt it. He's probably having the time of his life right now. But I know I can hear the sneer in his tone alone when he talks. He has that smug grin on him, which I may or may not want to punch off his face at present, just for the hell of it. But damage control. I need to do some damage control before this whole thing goes south. Apologize to Kylie. Yeah, tanking that relationship with Luke. But no matter how much I will force myself to do it, my own body refuses to budge, my own mouth refuses to open, and my head rejects the very idea of looking at him. No apology for an arsehole, not to someone with an ego too big for his head. Let his pride suffer, and I'm not going to eat my words for the sake of stroking his damn ego. Less reason for me to gloat. For him to gloat. Kylie, however, I owe an explanation.
Don't worry, Kylie. I'm not fighting with your Tio. This is just, a discussion. A very serious discussion between a very mature adult and one that's not.
Really?
Shots fired.
Mom, I've never seen Tio angry before.
It's because he's losing the argument. But don't ever follow his example, Kylie. You should always learn to be patient, even if things aren't going your way, okay?
Oh, sure, a discussion. And it involves hitting random strangers you meet at a cafe with a book.
Yes.
A hard-bound book.
Yes.
Mind you, the little me hasn't recovered yet.
Good.
If my future generation never survives from this, we are going to have more than words, woman!
Or you could go jump off a bridge. I don't allow Kylie to hear his tirade and cover both of her ears with my hands. As fond as she is of the man, there are words he shouldn't be saying in front of a child. How can he not know about that? More importantly, how on earth did someone like him become a godfather? Who allowed it? Maybe I should talk to Mrs. Suarez about it. Warn her how he's not a good influence for her children.
Language! How can you use such crude words in front of her?
Oh, she's twisting the argument.
Your goddaughter can hear you, for heaven's sake.
Oh, and you didn't.
Nope.
If I remember everything correctly, you called me a rotten bow.
So you're going to repeat it in front of her, just to make a point? What, are you 5? Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
Shots fired. Even Isabella, I can say that with much certainty.
Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
Wipe that fucking smirk off your face.
See what I mean?
Are you fighting again?
No.
Oh, no. Like I said, we were just having a discussion. We're actually done now. But
Good.
you need to promise Miss Pink you will never grow up like this guy. Good kids don't do what he's doing.
But I like Tio.
And I'm quite sure Tio likes you too. But liking people is different. Just because you like him doesn't mean you have to be like him. There are better role models for you aside from him.
Like you?
Yes.
Not exactly what I'm trying to get at, but if that's what you want, I don't see why not.
Yes, go around kicking people in the nads.
Okay, I want to be like Miss Pink someday. I want to be a teacher, and I promise I won't be like Tio, even if he's a gazillionaire.
Fuck yeah.
Wow, turning my own goddaughter against me. How mature of you, Miss Pink.
His tone makes me pause. For the first time since this talk started, I look at him. Briefly, something flashes behind his eyes, something close to what might be an expectation falling, dismay, I can't be sure. Passes almost as soon as it appears. Well, what's that about? Does he actually like having Kylie around? Doesn't seem like it from the get-go, but if that fond smile on him is anything to judge by, then maybe...
Don't worry, Tio. If you buy me bread pudding tonight, I'll like you again.
Oh, Shots fired again.
Oh, if that's all it takes, consider it done, sweetheart. We might have to find another place to buy it from, though. Somewhere safe, where a random crazy woman isn't going to attack us out of the blue. Let's go.
Okay. Bye, Miss Pink. I still like you, just not more than Tio anymore. See you.
Oh, kids. Kylie's already pulling him to the cafe's exit before I can protest on it. Although, it's not like there's anything to object on further. I may view that man, Luke, as someone hateful, maybe to the point of seeing him as an eyesore, but I don't think that'll have any bearing on what this child thinks of him. When you think about it, if she admires him so much like that, then maybe there's still something agreeable in him. No person ever thinks, oh, this guy's an absolute arsehole, but maybe other people find him in a good light. It's just something which doesn't happen. And I can say that from experience. I've never once gone, no, that guy is a complete and utter arsehole in every meaning of the word. Some people might like him. It means that you kind of like them. He still has the gall to wink at me before they both disappear behind the door, so maybe not. However, there's no moment to ponder about it. Seconds later, the guy at the counter waves me over and hands me a paper bag as soon as I've paid. He offers me another smile before I leave. Normally, I return it simply for the sake of returning it, or I don't at all, with the latter happening more commonly. For the time being, I do so freely. After that encounter and the scene we've caused, seeing a friendly gesture being extended to me, albeit from a person I barely know on a personal level, feels like reassurance despite bearing no promise of better days. Take what little of it I can as I step out into the night. The cloudless night sky greets me as I walk out of the cafe. Beyond the tall buildings, a blanket of stars spreads out before me. Isabella once told me that the best place to view it is someplace outside the city, away from the noise and the obtrusive lights. She'd seen it once in her mum's hometown and another time in the university she used to attend. Then she asked if it's possible to try out here sometime. I agreed with her at the time, if only because she appeared excited at the mere prospect of it. We made those little plans along with Zachary and Ashton. No, up until now, we never got round to it. Even so, I find myself enjoying this, despite being told it's only half the experience. Little things, you know. Stuff you learn to appreciate when you're alone. Oh, she's got such a bleeding heart. Because at certain times you get to meet people who are unfortunately born with the innate talent to ruin the mood and the scene in their mere existence alone. For example, the very driver of a car fast approaching my direction. Luckily, he doesn't notice me, but the fleeting moment we pass each other by gives me a brief glance at the people he's with. Kylie's sitting on the back seat with a serving of bread pudding in her hands. There's Luke, and beside him... That's not Hannah. That's not Hannah. It must be his wife. That's not Hannah. That's the demon lady. Which calls into question how Kylie doesn't see her. Or Luke, for that matter. Right, I need to make a quick loo break. But I will be back in a second. I just also remembered I haven't fed my cat yet, so I'll be back in a sec again. There we go, much better. It takes a turn and disappears at the nearest corner. But throughout the night, that cursory glimpse of all things bothers me. Has left me wondering what kind of person his wife is. And more than that, is a silent prayer to the universe. I hope I don't ever cross paths with that douche ever again. After having such an eventful day, anyone would think nothing will surprise me anymore. But here I am, standing at the top of the stairwell, watching an odd scene unfold before me. Relief crosses my mind first, followed by confusion.
What is she doing there?
Although, given what happened this morning, the question feels a bit inappropriate to ask directly. What's important is Isabella's here. She's sitting cross-legged in the hallway, just right in front of her room, with several papers and folders scattered about her. Each of them seems as important as the next. Oh, it's Briar Realty stuff. Oh, this might be the workload of Rose's. What she inherited after Rose dying. More than that, once upon giving the scene a quick scan, I spot Briar Realty's logo at the topmost area of the pages. Everything considered, it looks like a mess made by a third grader working on crunch time. The landlady will have a few things to say about this when she finds out. I have a few things to say about it myself, in fact. But something in the calm, focused manner she holds herself at present keeps me from disturbing her with that reminder. Just going through each paper with this intensity. Her brows are furrowed, lips in a tight line, both hands moving in precise movements as she shifts through each sheet. When she finds something of note, she moves closer, nose almost touching the paper, touching whatever paper she's holding, and grabs her phone to call someone.
Hello. Sorry to call you this late. There's something I just want to confirm, if that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Thanks anyway. Not that one either.
The cycle, she goes through call after call, then after the last one ends, she shuffles through the pile again and dials another number. Is it work? I've never seen her this engrossed in her work before. Otherwise, she would have noticed my presence the moment I reached our floor. After the 9th call, she still appears as oblivious to it as when I arrived. When she lets out a loud sigh this time, I immediately take this as my opportunity to interrupt.
Isabella, you know the house rules here.
At once, her head jerks back and hits the concrete wall behind her with a thump. There's the Isabella I know. Glad it's still there. I allow her a moment to nurse it before speaking again.
Becca, you're late.
Yeah, I ran into a little trouble at the cafe. But I brought food for the two of us, if you haven't eaten anything yet.
As anticipated, she grins once I raise the bag of food I'm holding. Yet it doesn't reach her eyes. There's something of the cheerful glint in this. There's nothing of the cheerful glint in it this time. Just a hollow tone for the sake of being polite. Ashton's right. Something's happened.
Yeah, maybe later. I've got to finish this first. Just leave it here. I'll eat it once I'm done. Thanks, Becca.
You can't eat this here. You know how the landlady would react. Why are you even working outside? Your room's right there.
Because she was approached by a demon in her room.
I know. Sorry. It just feels stuffy in my apartment right now. I'll go back inside once everything's been aired out. I promise.
That has never bothered you before.
Ugh.
Well, it bothers me now.
Oh, really? Just now? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah? Shouldn't you be happy? I mean, you've been complaining even if it's not your room. Now I know how you're feeling when it's messy, so I'm going to clean. Isn't that a good thing?
In spite of what's supposed to be good news, an exhale comes from me, drawn out and slow.
It's a good thing, Isabella. Believe me. But you're as bad as Zachary at lying. What's...
Yep. She hastily averts her eyes, a surefire indicator that this is going to be one of those lengthy conversations that can possibly end with the other person angry. Again. One thing I'd like to avoid tonight at all costs. Still, I've made a promise to Ashton and Zach. She didn't talk to them, who else is she going to talk to? She keeps this all to herself, who knows what might happen.
Isabella, you can tell me. Is it about your family?
Slight movement in her lips, although a frown. It's a reaction at least. I'm getting there.
Rose?
Amelia shakes her head. A little more.
Come on, I know something happened. I don't know. You weren't here when I visited
sorry.
this morning, and both Zachary and Ashton are worried about you. If you don't want to tell them, you can tell me.
This was the previous line.
Come on, I know something happened. I don't know if it's because of Rose, but I know it's related to her somehow.
There we go. And then...
You weren't here when I visited this morning, and both Zachary and Ashton are worried about you. If you don't want to tell them, you can tell me. Does it have something to do with work? Office?
If I didn't know her, I might have missed it. She shifts then, her fist clenching tight and her teeth biting her lower lip, and there's... fear. The look of terror is in her. The look of terror in her is the last thing I expected to see out of everything. Her mouth trembles briefly before she opens them. Her mouth trembles briefly before she opens them. I think that's meant to be her lips tremble briefly before she opens them. When she finally voices it out, the words simply spill out of her mouth. One after another. All of it. True to what I've promised her, I'll listen. Because this is something she's been keeping to herself, even from the two most dependable people I know. In fact, the fact she chooses to tell me speaks a lot to me.
Becca, she was there again. Last night? In the office? Boss passed me all of Rose's Lurk load yesterday. For the Ermengarde mansion. I had to stay late to finish them all. And then... when I was about to go home, I saw her.
We saw through this moment as well. This was basically the end of Isabella's chapter. That we had a kind of QTE event of her walking past and us trying to keep silent underneath the desk, and then it faded to black and into the next story.
I saw her again. She was standing in front of me again last night, Becca. I couldn't get away. She was blocking the door. If I hadn't hidden myself, even if I made the tiniest noise, if she found me. Becca, she almost did. If she saw me under my table, I think that would have been the end of it. I'm scared. I'm so scared I won't be able to do anything.
By the end, her hands are trembling and her breathing comes out in rasping intervals. For a long moment, I let the silence stretch out between us, let her sobs fill it instead. But even as the soft whimpers die down minutes later, there's a heaviness hanging in the air. Not just from her, but also from me. From my exasperation over this whole matter, from my own frustrations over her stupid superstitions, when she could do us all a favour and grow a backbone. She may be young, but she's no longer that young. It's about time to put an end to this. She can't keep going on like this. She's still got plenty of years to live out. And what if she gets home? What if we're no longer to keep her fears in line with what's real? What would she do then? I'm more afraid for her, for what that kind of imagination will do to her, than of what some imaginary monster could do. But with the manner she's looking at me right now, there's an expectation in it, a hope, and a plea thrown together. She wants me to believe her this time. If it's like that, then what am I supposed to say now? What she wants to hear or what she needs to hear? I'm still in two minds whether I should have been playing this game as the character. Meaning, make the decision based on what the character would say. So in this instance, like what she says or what she needs to hear, this again is what Becca would say. But I kind of want to take the nicer option. Yeah, this is why you didn't come home last night. Much as I want to set her straight, a reprimand isn't what she needs right now. And that pouty face she's given me, I doubt it'll even end well if I push it. I know her. When she wants to be stubborn, she's stubborn. There are moments where she can be acquiescing too. Times when she'll be more accepting of what I tell her, despite her inclination to disagree with it. That talk can wait. In the meantime, I'll be an ear that listens to her without judging her, without criticizing her, despite my own opinions on it.
You should have called me.
She stares at me like I've grown another head, and a laugh, and a laughter, and a laugh spills out of her before I can stop myself.
There? I can't do that! What will you do? Hit her with a book? You'll be dead before that happens. And
The relationship went up though, which is good.
That isn't what I'm talking about.
How long until the landlady appears?
After you got out. You should have phoned me. You didn't have to go to Zachary's.
Corners of her mouth curl up, a sheepish smile. By general definition, but this is Isabella. Her smiles are never half-hearted. She never lacks her high spirits. In spite of this, I know everything's going to be okay. Somehow. After all, she's learned how to pick herself up long ago, long before we met.
oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't even remember how I ended up in Zach's place. I was in a hurry to get out of the office, and it was already late. Besides, I don't really think you'll believe me if I wake you up over something like that.
That's beside the point. True or not, there are people who will always be concerned about you. There's Zachary, but he's the first person you went to, and you didn't tell him anything. You just slept there. There's Ashton too, and me. But how do you think I'll be able to explain to your aunt or your family if you suddenly disappeared? Think about that.
Right.
Does have a point.
I'll remember that next time.
Then she grins. Playful and mischievous, a preamble to an old banter. It's still not quite there, still not quite her usual self, but with it, I know we're bound to get her back soon.
Mom!
I told you not to call me that.
I send an elbow to her side for added measure, but when laughter follows the familiar gesture, none of it is unexpected. This is what's comfortable, this is how we found an equal ground despite our stark differences. So, for the moment, I accept things as they are. Afterwards, a hush stretches out before us. For Isabella, this is rare. This isn't her. Yet in this moment, as she fiddles with the edge of another paper near her, as she hugs her knees close to herself and lets a pensive expression linger on her, feels strangely fitting. As if this is where everything's supposed to lead if we allowed it long ago. Seconds later, the moment is broken by the sound of a door easing open and a voice begging some little peace.
How many times have I told you girls not to loiter around the hallway? It's noisy. Some people here are trying to sleep.
Told you the landlady would appear.
Quiet down or go do your talking inside. I'm pinning a memo to your door the next time this happens.
Okay.
Millennials.
Sorry, we won't do it again.
You'd better.
You'd better. Oh, baby boomers. The door closes and Isabella starts gathering the mess she's made, carefully stacking them all in her arm. At a loss for what to do, I help pick them up, or for the first time, I get a closer look at it. Completely unintentional, of course. But it catches my attention nevertheless, and a confused frown makes its way to my face. Why is she looking through this? I look to her for an explanation, but she merely ignores the question in my eyes, takes the paper off my hands, and finishes cleaning up. The last paper she puts on top is a letter. The one she supposedly found at the mansion, and what's probably the root of all this odd behaviour. I show her a questioning look for that too, but she gives me a smile. And in a halting tone, so completely unlike her...
Becca, I'll find a way out of this. You guys don't have to worry about me. Anyways, I should go. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
Getting myself some food. Don't wait for me.
But we brought you food. Isabella walks away before I can stop her. Before I can remind her, I brought food enough for the two of us. She quickly disappears down the stairwell while I'm left standing in an empty hallway holding 2 bags of takeout. One of them will go uneaten tonight. Just an innocent passing thought. One that I don't dwell on as I head back onto my room. I ignore all of it in the same way I've assumed I won't ever encounter that douche again. That was all on the 25th. We've skipped the 26th with her. And we're going straight to the 27th. A brief lull the past 2 days has offered is nice while it lasted. Or as nice as it can get with worries of Isabella's whereabouts creeping up on me every now and then. She hasn't showed up after our last talk we had in the hallway, and the dinner I've bought had since been given to a different neighbour before it spoils. By all means, there shouldn't be anything to lose sleep over. She's gone on work trips before, usually for a day or two. This might simply be one of those. Although it's often with a message saying exactly where. But it's the dour note she has ended our last chat with that gnaws.
Like an ugly premonition.
And as expected, just as things start to settle down and a steady rhythm finally worms its way back into my routine, Thursday morning brings further disturbance to the now calm waters. With little ceremony, though still enough to ripple through everything. In retrospect, I really should have seen this coming. Luxmore is a small city, relatively speaking. Compared to, say, London or Glasgow, it's nothing but a tiny mass of land boasting a mere population of 68,000. But those numbers alone are nothing to scoff at when standing in the busy streets. That's actually quite a big city. I'll quickly check my city. City of Lancaster. What was our population for last year? Let's have a look. 68,000. And our district has 143,500 by last count. So it's half our size. Over half of our size. And we're quite a big city population-wise. The city centre is not that big, but the Lancaster area spreads really far. Oh, I need to minimise that again. Alright. Music, come back. Thank you. And if you pay close enough attention, faces taking the crosswalk or riding the subway will soon grow familiar. How unfortunate that it is that out of that number, it has to be T.O. fucking Luke I encounter more than once.
Oh, you know, a few problems popping up here and there that the agents failed to tell us somehow. Nothing a few hired hands can't fix, of course. I would have preferred a place near the city and something that's new to save us all the trouble, but darling wife insisted. Who am I to say no?
Bear with us 1 second. Okay.
Ah, are you kidding me?
His smug head is the first thing I see upon turning into the hall, inspired the small crowd of parents and students gathered in the corridor for the primary's career day. Not that he stands out, he's pretty unremarkable at first glance, frankly. However, it's his countenance that draws people's eyes to him. The manner he carries himself with all the confidence in the world, his mere presence dwarfing anything around him. I'm willing to make a bet he's also enjoying the attention it garners him. Especially the ones coming from the women.
What an ass.
Then go glance at him and I know immediately that one way or another, if we ever bump into each other again, my day will effectively be ruined in some capacity. He also exudes that air. The sort that makes you want to run him over with a lorry and pass it off as some unfortunate accident. With him, it's either you want to punch him or let yourself be charmed. There is no in between. Nobody speaks like this of someone they don't like. There's never this whole thing of, or let yourself be charmed. It's always just be, he just has that look that he wants to get punched. I'll gladly do him the honour of the former, but alas, there are people around us. Now I'm stuck with having to face one of the two.
I shouldn't have volunteered.
At the time, helping out sounded like a good idea. I have no classes left for today until after lunch. I could have opted to stay at the teacher's lounge and work on my lessons plans, but that means being left alone with our deputy head and his chatter. He's a good man, but Crivens. He can talk anyone's ears off. Though the moment an opportunity rose, I jumped on it. A simple task to boot. Just deliver a whole box of materials and a few posters for the event. Maybe stay around to assist if time will allow. I just wasn't expecting him to show up here. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. Had I known, I would have stayed and suffered through the deputy's impromptu speeches about his life crisis instead. But what's done is done. Going back is out of the question. And with how unexpectedly heavy the load I'm carrying is, I hate to lug this for a trip back just because my pride can't take another second of interaction with the guy. He's insufferable and alright, but I've had my fair share of dealings with teens more or less the same temperament, all considerably younger than him, and they listened. If he wants to be difficult like last time, so be it, but he can bet his sorry English arse I'm not standing down. Left with no choice, I braced myself and suck in a breath, mustering every bit of patience I have as I step into the hall. My grip on the box tightens when I pull it closer to me and attempt to assume a low-key air as I amble towards the room. The box is not big enough to hide my face, even with the stuff piled on top, but if all else fails, I can just hit him with it. She likes hitting people with things. Still, a small prayer forms in my head. If there's even one listening out there, please grant me enough restraint. But yeah, I hope he doesn't notice me at all. That'll definitely make my life easier. Seriously, how hard can it be? He's standing a few ways from the door, and there's plenty of people between us to use for cover. If I'm careful, I can just go in, hand in the stupid box to whoever's in charge, forget every plan of staying longer than necessary, and step out as soon as I can. Easy as pie. But as luck would have it, the exact moment I reach for the room's threshold, someone barrels towards me. He latches onto my waist before topping the sudden commotion with a gleeful squeal.
I knew it's you!
Hi, Kylie! The force of it nearly throws me off balance, sending the items stacked atop the box tilting dangerously to the sides. With the child's added weight at my waist pinning me on the spot and both my hands occupied, watching is the only thing I'm able to do. The short seconds between slow as everything, in between slows as everything gradually slides off the box's small surface. Under different circumstances, this would have made for a funny story some other time. Comical even. Still another set of hands reaches out and steadies the posters, threatening to take a nosedive on the floor. Careful now, Daisy. Don't make a mess here. My entire body freezes. Upon hearing his voice alone, an irrational impulse to hit him immediately bubbles up. But before my limbs could catch up with whatever my brain is currently screaming at me, he moves and takes the burdens off my arms. Irritation gives way to surprise, then confusion. It's in this moment when instinct finally kicks in and I tug the box closer to me before he can fully lift it off.
What are you doing?
What does it look like?
I love that he's still called Sleazy Douche, rather than actually called Luke. Little things in this game.
You're surprisingly slow on the uptake for someone of your profession, aren't you? Bloody, doesn't this school have people for this kind of work? So much for being a center of academic excellence.
I'm going to ignore that slight to my alma mater and my work, because that's not what I'm trying to get at. You know what? Why don't we just rephrase that to something you'll easily understand? Why exactly are you doing this?
Well, you look like you could use a bit of help. Have you seen your face while you were heaving this around?
Mister, I'm pretty sure if there's ever a look on my face, it's entirely because I saw something extremely unpleasant this morning.
Aren't you a ball of sunshine today, Daisy? Having a bad day, aren't we?
Yes,
Oh, you have no idea.
especially after seeing your
I'd put
face.
it away if I were you. You might scare the children.
You don't have to worry about that. This isn't my department. I was just asked to bring these. Anyway, I can handle this myself, mister. The room's just right over there. Behind you, in fact. Now, if you could please move over and make way, it would do the whole world some good.
Keeping my voice level throughout is a miracle in itself, but regardless of how polite my request is, he doesn't budge. Did what I've just said merely flow over his head? Were my choice of words really that difficult to comprehend? Surely it shouldn't be that hard. I think he might be a little touched in the head. I'd like to ask him that, actually, but Kylie chooses that instant to pipe in.
Don't worry, Miss Pink. Tio's strong. You can leave this to him.
No.
My papa does it lots of times, but I'm not allowed to talk about it to anyone. Tio says it's
Confidential?
Confidential, Munchkin.
That's right. Tio's smart, isn't he, Miss Pink?
No. I'm still of the opinion that he's a piece of shite, but I must admit his goddaughter's excitement is contagious, as always. A smile makes its way to my lips. She has yet to budge from her place, though, to be honest, I'm starting to lose some feeling on my stomach with how tightly wound her arms are around
I'm
it.
sure he is, Kylie. But I'm also sure he'll find better use for it elsewhere.
Like helping you out.
Oh, well, that's one thing, but
You heard the kid.
no one's
Children.
asking you.
Oh, you wound me, woman.
And I'm quite certain I can do more damage than that. Shall we give it a try?
Them's fighting words.
Again?
He pales, stammers for a bit, until he ultimately decides against saying anything and settles for a brief show of discomfort instead. He's probably having flashbacks of the last time we met. His composure when he finally regains some of his bearings says it all. It's nothing short of hilarious if I do say so myself.
I'll have you know that threats never work on me, Daisy.
Wasn't a threat.
Not in a million years, not ever.
Still wasn't a threat.
You're assuming it's a threat. How cute.
That too. I'm not scared of you.
Oh, of course not.
Just because you landed a hit.
Uh-huh. Do go on. Keep telling yourself that.
They are like Becca in these moments.
It was a fluke, you hear?
was a fluke against Luke.
I was caught off guard and your damn book left a dent. If I end up in a hospital because of what you did, I'm sending the chief of Luxburn Police after you, woman.
Try me.
You don't say.
Just give me that bloody box.
He snatches out of my arms before a single word of protest exits my mouth and quickly disappears behind the classroom. Not that it matters who brings it in now, my prior irritation has already melted into amusement. He's not so bad once you figure out his temperament. Still, again, someone you hate you never talk this way about. Though I still have to ask.
Kylie, did your Tio eat something bad before coming here? He's unusually nice today.
Far-fetched idea, I know, but it's the only reason I can think of why this arsehole is suddenly acting like a decent human he's, quite frankly, far from being. First and foremost, we didn't end our last meeting on a good note. If I were him, I'd avoid the very person who put a small dent on his skull, as he so aptly put it. Why is he acting friendly 2 days later?
He always is. But I made him promise to be extra nice to you since you helped me so much. I think you're gonna be great friends.
Nah. I quickly stomp on the urge to ground Lodley or gag at that. He's the last person I'd ever want to be chummy with in this whole city, but Kylie doesn't need to know that.
Are you sure it's not something he ate during breakfast?
I gave him some jelly babies this morning. Rowan brought me lots of them. Mama said I should share,
Because he
so
stole
I
them.
offered half of it to Tio when he picked me up. He likes the black ones.
Oh, that's probably why he's weird. Jelly baby overdose.
Could have done everyone a favour and choked on them while he's at
Do
it.
you want some? I've got more. I couldn't find Melody or Takako this morning, but I'm sure they'll be fine sharing some of it with you.
Takako.
No, I'm not really very fond of them. I was just asking. Oh, where's your mum, by the way?
Out of town with Papa.
An unexpected pang hits me at her words. The statement, though innocent enough, unearths a whole trunk of memories from childhood. So eerily familiar. Nights spent eating dinners alone, the number of days coming home to an empty house growing with each passing year, and sometimes several Christmas Eves spent with relatives instead of my own family. Too late to think about it now, but when I remember, the dull ache is still there, familiar though lessened by the years now. Beside me, Kylie takes a step back, having gotten tired of clinging to me. There's nothing but cheer in her. She doesn't seem too affected by the fact. Although it makes me wonder how much of it is real, and how much is there to mask the loneliness, if there's even one. What a lucky child.
Weren't they informed of career day beforehand?
Yeah, I told them all about it. Mama was looking forward to it.
And they still left?
Uh-huh. It's important business, so it can't be helped. They promised to tell me about it when they come back tomorrow, though. Papa said he'll give me a gift if I behave. I've been a good girl, right, Miss Pink?
Yes.
You always are. But they asked that they asked your Tio to look after you? For this?
Oh, that slip. They asked that douche. I mean, your uncle? I got to remember I'm talking to the child. The amount of times that I've done that in person is, quite frankly, ridiculous.
Nope, they didn't.
No? Then how?
It was supposed to be Tia. Mama likes her better than Tio, so she asked her, but she's sick and had to visit the doctor today.
Oh yeah, because she's pregnant.
Oh, that's supposed to be a secret, by the way. Oh, but I think it's a bit confusing because Tio said she also went shopping. That's unfair. Don't you think so, Miss Pink? Mama doesn't allow me to go out when I'm sick. It's still okay, though, since Tio always buys me sweets before we go home. I'm gonna ask for a parfait today. Extra large. Don't tell Takako, okay?
Kako. Still a very odd name. And I know this school has people from every nation, it seems. Still weird. She's far from a demanding child. Unless you've made a promise of some sort, she'll never forget those. She'll make friends with anyone wherever she is. Buy her a few things and voila, you're settled. No wonder she's so attached to the man. The douche probably showers her with gifts whenever he can. I can't say if the sentiment's the same for the latter, however. He doesn't seem the type and probably just does it for the sake of getting some peace and quiet whenever he's with the girl. Classic techniques.
But before that, I'm gonna show him to everyone first. It's gonna be great. No one else has a gazillionaire fairy godfather. Also, when I grow up, I'm gonna be exactly like him and marry someone really handsome. Like Tia did. That way, I can be awesome too.
There's some sort of misguided logic in there that I'd like to correct. But before I can say my piece, Douchebag steps in, fresh out of the commotion from the classroom behind us, and plows into the conversation with every subtlety a wrecking ball has. No shite given, despite no one asking for his opinion.
Munchkin, sweetie, trust me. You don't have to marry someone for that to happen.
I don't?
Just do your thing, darling. I'm quite sure you can do great things on your own without lugging around an extra baggage with you.
Tia married you.
Kylie drops the statement without any sort of preface, and the moment it lands, the douche finds himself grappling with the conversation.
Yeah, well, that's true, Munchkin, technically. But it's not the same thing.
Small frown creases in the girl's eyebrows as she tries to comprehend her Tio's rather vague explanation. Not surprising either when Luke tenses under the child's questioning gaze. It's familiar. I've seen the same look a great deal of times before on Ashton whenever he's trying to say something he can't quite phrase. Another second passes before the douche moves, kneeling in front of Kylie and placing both his hands on either sides of her shoulder. Kind is the last word I'd ever used to describe the man, but in this moment, there's a smile on his face I can't place. Tender by all means, for someone as obnoxious as him. A curious thing to see, not a bit odd.
Listen here, sweetie. Tia was already a great person before she met me.
She is? But I don't see her doing anything. She's always at home.
Not always, Munchkin. Did you know she's really good at numbers?
You're good with them too. You helped me with my homework once.
Well, Tia's much, much better than me. She used to do maths with big numbers.
Oh, like millions?
No, gazillions. And she's really, really good at it. So much so that her dad let her manage anything that had to do with it.
Yeah, because she was an accountant before marrying Luke.
That was even before she met me, too.
Does that mean she's better than you?
Oh, leagues, Munchkin. Way, way better than I'll ever be.
For some reason, I don't think he's still talking about his wife's mathematical prowess as his voice trails off. In fact, if I'd not been paying closer attention, I wouldn't have noticed the change in him. The slight shift in his smile from one that's tender to something wistful, like remembering a memory he has always been fond of, but has often kept to himself. This is a completely different side to him. And at the fleeting glance of it, a tiny, insignificant part of the world somehow also shifts. Opinions changing, impressions moving.
You know what? Why don't you ask Tia next time you have homework,
Okay, next time I'll ask her to help out.
See? No need to marry a good-for-nothing bloke.
Can I also tell her to not stay at home anymore? If Tia's good at it, I'm sure she can help you out too. And Papa. He computes a lot of numbers too. Tia can help him.
You go do that. I'm sure she'll love to hear it, Munchkin, even if it's been a while since.
Another silence from him, then, without missing a beat, he turns Kylie around and lightly pats her on the shoulder in a gesture to end their conversation right there and then. Oh, before he can say other things he's never intended to say or a child is not meant to
But
hear.
off you go first. I think I saw your friend run off to the other classroom. The one with the pigtails? Go say hi to her. You still have those jelly babies to give her, yes?
All right.
Also, who has a 5-button suit? I don't think I've ever seen a 5 buttons